Shut the up. I don't give a dude. Look at this. Look at this. He's fighting a professional boxer.
Joe Rogan just tore into Jake Paul after Jake announced he's backing out of the fight with Mike Tyson. Honestly, it's like July the 20th got cursed, or maybe Jake's prayers for a way out finally paid off. We're all sitting here in shock. But Joe, he saw this coming from a mile away. He's been warning everyone that this fight was a terrible idea. Don't mess with Tyson, he said. But Jake, being Jake, was too busy chasing clout to listen. Now that Jake's officially thrown in the towel, Joe's not holding back. Half of you probably started disliking Jake the second he challenged Mike, and the other half, when he disrespected Tyson and his family. But Joe, he's been riding this anti-Paul wave since Jake and Logan first burst onto the scene. Rogan's always been brutally honest, and his criticism of the Paul brothers is as legendary as it is blunt. He's constantly called them out, questioning whether they even belong in combat sports, slamming them as fame-hungry opportunists with little real passion or skill. Interview 2. One of the standout moments was when Joe Rogan called Jake Paul the biggest manipulator in the boxing world, and, honestly, he's got a point. Jake's rise in boxing has been meteoric, but Joe, along with plenty of others, sees it as a carefully staged performance. Jake's opponents always seem handpicked to guarantee his victory, like he's stacking the deck, and Joe finds that deeply troubling. His criticism isn't just personal dislike. Joe genuinely believes Jake is damaging the integrity of boxing by targeting non-boxers or fighters well past their prime. By keeping his record spotless, Jake's misleading fans about his true abilities, and Joe sees it as an outright insult to the sport. Even Floyd Mayweather has echoed similar concerns.
No one had the solution.
Joe Rogan has been relentlessly calling Jake Paul out for his tactics, fighting ex-MMA guys, YouTubers, and retired athletes instead of stepping into the ring with real, active boxers. It's like trying to build a mansion on a foundation of sand, and Joe's not having any of it. On his podcast, he's broken down Jake's fight history piece by piece, pointing out the glaring inconsistencies and questioning the legitimacy of his so-called victories. It's almost as if Joe's appointed himself boxing's watchdog, keeping an eye on anyone trying to game the system. And when it comes to the swirling accusations of fixed matches and staged fights, the pile keeps growing. Rogan and other critics aren't buying Jake's spotless record. It's like biting into a shiny apple only to find it rotten inside. One of the most talked about examples, Jake's fight against Ben Askren on April the 17th, 2021. Askren, a respected MMA fighter, was known for his wrestling, not his punching power. That fight ended with a first-round KO, and many, including Joe, saw it as pure theater, more scripted spectacle than real competition. The doubts didn't stop there. On August the 29th, 2021, Jake faced Tyron Woodley, another MMA veteran, whose prime had long passed. Sure, Woodley was a former UFC champ, but he wasn't a boxer. Their rematch on December the 18th, 2021, ended with yet another knockout, only fueling more skepticism. Critics pointed out that these opponents were chosen for their star power, not their boxing prowess. It's like hiring a legendary rock band to boost your image even though they haven't had a hit in years. Joe has hammered this point repeatedly on the Joe Rogan Experience. In the October the 25th, 2021 episode, he dissected Jake's record like a crime scene investigator. Rogan didn't hold back, saying that fighting non-boxers or faded stars is like padding your stats in a video game set to easy mode. It distorts public perception and, in Joe's eyes, seriously damages the integrity of the sport.
As long as he continues to fight MMA guys and YouTubers, he's gonna continue to look good and shine. But once he fights a real fighter, a real fighter that can really fight, it's not gonna be that good.
Joe Rogan's stance is crystal clear. He believes Jake Paul is gaming the system, chasing fame and cash while turning boxing into a full-blown circus. In a May the 15th, 2022 podcast episode, Joe doubled down, ripping apart the way Jake's fights are hyped up to make him look like some kind of boxing prodigy. According to Joe, real boxers earn their stripes through years of grueling, legitimate competition, not by cherry-picking easy opponents for headline-grabbing wins. Joe's relentless critique has kept the conversation alive, making sure fans don't blindly buy into the Jake Paul hype machine. So when the bombshell news dropped on March the 10th, 2024, that Jake Paul and Mike Tyson were officially set to fight, it shook both the sports and entertainment worlds. Reactions were all over the map. Jake and Mike's fans were losing their minds over what seemed like the ultimate clash of titans, while seasoned boxing fans rolled their eyes so hard they could practically see their own brainstems. Questions swirled about legitimacy, motives, everything. True to form, Joe was one of the first to weigh in, immediately drawing comparisons to Tyson's previous fights. As he put it,
Was an execution. That Jake Paul would survive against the Mike Tyson that beat Marvis Frazier.
Joe Rogan, ever the straight shooter, didn't hold back on this one. He practically shouted from the rooftops that the Jake Paul vs. Mike Tyson fight smelled fishy, like a seafood market at high tide. Sure, it was set to rake in massive viewership and cash, but Joe saw straight through the spectacle. This isn't a real boxing match, folks. It's a circus act, he warned. Joe's skepticism was front and center during a no-holds-barred ESPN interview on March 12, 2024. He laid it out plainly. Jake Paul is a marketing genius and a magnet for controversy, but a true boxer, not even close. In Joe's eyes, this fight with Tyson was all about headlines and bank accounts, not boxing skills. His take echoed what many already felt. Jake was chasing the celebrity boxing cash grab, not genuine sporting glory. And Joe didn't let up. Across multiple media appearances, he hammered this point home. On his April 2, 2024, podcast episode, he tore into the fight setup, branding it a media circus designed to stir up buzz and fatten wallets. He simply couldn't buy the idea that Jake, with his limited boxing resume, stood a real chance against a legend like Tyson. For Joe, the whole thing was just another chapter in Jake's quest to fuel his controversial persona, offering nothing meaningful to the sport of boxing. But Rogan didn't just sit back and throw shade from the sidelines. Behind the scenes, he actually tried to warn Jake about the looming disaster of facing Tyson. According to sources close to Rogan, on March 15, 2024, he reached out to Jake directly. Can you imagine that call? Rogan was probably like, "Dude, listen, fighting Tyson is like wrestling a grizzly bear. Even at his age, the man can still rip your head clean off." He stressed the sheer physical and mental challenge of going toe-to-toe with a battle-hardened warrior like Tyson, who, let's be honest, still has that killer instinct and enough raw power to light up a small city.
I think that Mike Tyson is the best heavyweight of all time. I don't think anybody fucks with him.
On June 10, 2024, Rogan even made a personal trip to Tyson's home in Las Vegas after news broke about Tyson's ulcer flare-up. According to sources close to Rogan, the visit was a genuine, heartfelt show of support. He wanted to fully understand what Tyson was going through and let him know he had a true friend in his corner. Now contrast that with Jake Paul's approach. It was like night and day. While Rogan was genuinely concerned about Tyson's health, Jake seemed laser-focused on the fame and fortune the fight could bring. So when the bombshell hit that Jake Paul had officially pulled out of the fight with Mike Tyson, it was like a grenade went off in the sports world. On June 15, 2024, sports networks and social media exploded. ESPN dropped the news at 10 a.m., and shockwaves hit instantly. Fans who had been eagerly awaiting the showdown were left stunned, jaws on the floor, while the media pounced on the story like lions on fresh prey. And Joe Rogan's reaction: it was exactly what you'd expect, and then some. Within an hour of the announcement, he was fired up and ready to let loose. By noon, he was live on the Joe Rogan Experience, and he was not holding back. His voice trembled with a mix of frustration and fury as he tore into Jake Paul. "This is a cowardly move," Rogan spat. "Jake Paul has shown his true colors today, and it's disgraceful." Rogan's verbal takedown was relentless. He blasted Jake for wasting everyone's time and dragging boxing's name through the mud. "Jake Paul is nothing but a fraud," Rogan declared. "He built up all this hype, got everyone invested, and now he's running away. It's all about money and fame for him, never about the sport." The disappointment and anger radiated from Rogan, who saw this as the ultimate slap in the face to the sport he's spent years defending. But even in his frustration, Rogan stood firm. He promised that Mike Tyson wouldn't let Jake off the hook without serious payback, and insisted this fight would happen, one way or another.
It counts on their professional record, so it's a professional fight.
In one of his most scathing remarks, Rogan declared, "Jake Paul has made a mockery of boxing. This isn't a game, it's a sport with a rich history and real athletes." Today, he proved he's not one of them. Rogan's intensity was through the roof, and his words hit hard. For him, Jake's withdrawal wasn't just disappointing, it was the ultimate betrayal of boxing's integrity, deepening his long-held disdain for the YouTuber-turned-boxer. And Rogan didn't ease up. "Jake Paul talks a big game, but when it really matters, he's just a pretender," Rogan fired off. Backing out of a fight with Mike Tyson shows he never had the courage or the respect this sport demands. His words were like a wrecking ball aimed straight at Jake's credibility, tearing down what Rogan saw as a carefully built FADE of hype and manipulation. So, what do you think? Has Joe Rogan nailed it? If you're backing Joe on this one, drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and give this video a big thumbs up.